remember the helicopter crash in the Mull of Kintyre in 1994 that killed 29 people. On board, among MI5 officials, police officers and army comrades, was Ian Phoenix, a 51-year-old detective superintendent and the head of the Royal Ulster Constabulary's counter-terrorism unit. Ian's widow, Dr. Susan Phoenix, is among family members of those who died, who are launching legal action against the MOD for not ordering a public inquiry. The government, of course, has previously described the crash as a tragic accident. Susan joins me now. Susan, hello.
Hello, John. Nice to speak to you. Thank you.
Pleasure. In your eyes, why was there no public inquiry, do you think?
Well, you see, the MOD would argue there have been several inquiries, all of which have been totally skewed. I think that's the technical term for lack of proper evidence. They say there have been 5 different groups looking at this, but of course nobody had the correct information. Now, I feel that myself and a few people in the early days knew that. They were quite happy to blame, scapegoat is the word, the pilots for 17 years. And then after that, they cleared the pilots, but of course they forgot to then order another review to say, well, hey, if the pilots weren't at fault, what was?
So hang on, what was at fault then? Because the MOD is saying it's an accident. What was at fault?
Of course they are, and they're going against their own rules and regulations. When they cleared the pilots, they cleared them for a reason. Mm-hmm. At the moment, we're not able to say, right, but it certainly was something faulty with the Chinook. And there is enough evidence. We have enough papers, and we've actually just seen today that the Freedom of Information people have changed replies that they originally gave to families asking about what happened on the Chinook crash. So it's all become very immoral. I think the moral area in the Ministry of Defence needs seriously looked at.
So we've got a helicopter that was considered not fit for use.
Yes.
And the initial blaming of the pilots, then that changing. What do you hope comes out of this?
We want the Prime Minister to grant a judicial, judge-led review, a proper review that looks at everything. And the people now who are coming out of the woodwork who were not allowed to speak at the time, which is quite frightening, John, isn't it? You know, we look up to our government and our agencies, the Ministry of Defence. They actually stopped people who could give information from giving information at the accident inquiry. We had a big one in Paisley way back in 1996, but people were not allowed to come and give evidence. The actual test pilot in Boscombe Down, who was all ready to give evidence, was stopped. So we have to ask why, don't we?
Well, I mean, your husband died. And
he did.
And what are you hoping Sir Keir Starmer will do about this? And how do you feel personally in all of this?
Oh, yeah, well, that's a difficult one, isn't it? Yeah. There are 29 families who are all suffering. And, of course, well, I wrote in my diary on that day, Ian killed, my life ended. But, of course, it didn't. But that feeling of being bereft, everybody who's lost their loved one in this kind of situation will recognise it. And we have to realise it wasn't just one family. It was my family, my children, my grandchildren that will never see their grandfather, but the young families in the 29 people who were very small, they were babies, some weren't born, they have only just discovered the fact that their mothers have been lied to for 31 years. So they are the driving force behind this new Chinook campaign, which is very important. We've got a petition going out right now. We got 1,000 signatures overnight, which is amazing. And I feel at the moment, grateful for the people who are coming forward, people who said, gosh, I wanted to speak out at the time, but I was frightened about my job, my pension, my whatever. And they are coming forward now. I've always said, I just want one person to stand up and say, we got it wrong, you know? And there's more than one coming forward, many. Government ministers who were lied to, John Major at the time, Malcolm Rifkind at the time, they have now come forward and said, hey, we didn't get the full facts. Liam Fox actually admits that at the review that cleared the pilots, that he was given the wrong information from the Ministry of Defence. So, yes, there's a lot going on there. How do I feel? Angry, frustrated, but more the fact that we have people in positions of power who can remain intransigent and arrogant for 31 years, John. You know, you'd have thought some successive civil servant would have said, hey, boys, come on, we got this wrong. Let's now clear it. But nobody has come forward at all. And that's what we need Keir Starmer to talk about his duty of candour that he announced only 3 weeks ago publicly, that he was going to be more clear and truthful and make sure that everybody got answers to everything. Yeah.
Dr. Susan, thank you for talking to me. Before you go, you've got new information. You want this to go ahead. If you could sit down in front of Sir Keir Starmer, what would you say to him?
I don't think we've got time in the rest of the programme. I would say, look, how can you leave 31 families? 29 families over 39 years, and there's 47 children and grandchildren. How can you leave them in ignorance and feeling that they were duped? And they were. Those men were deprived of their human right to life. The families were deprived of their human rights to have a family life. And also, by the way, I wanted to say there was one Scottish lady amongst that 29 people, Anne James. We don't know, I have never heard of any of her family since then. Her family were crofters, and I think they're all passed on. But I always feel sorry that Anne James was there with all those brave men, and they all went down together.
Dr. Susan Phoenix, thank you very much indeed. Her husband, Ian Phoenix, was one of the 29 people killed on that helicopter crash in the Mull of Kintyre back in 1994.